is Janek Gwizdala. It's the Janek Gwizdala podcast. Boy, do I have some gear things for you today. We are going deep into some pedals. Now, if you're only listening, and in fact, I haven't given it away on the overhead cam yet what this is, you might go, oh, that's the OC2, or maybe that's the vintage bass octave. It is neither. It's a vintage Pearl OC7. As you can see here on the overhead, you can also see Chaos on the desk, because we're going to get into something not actually completely related to the OC7. It's going to be a bit of a component, a major component actually, but what I want to talk to you about today is something I don't think a lot of bass players, perhaps we're not aware of it. I know I wasn't for a long time. And even if you are aware of it, maybe it's not something you've considered using that much in your bass playing, in the low end, in the fundamentals of the instrument, and that is trails. It's a thing that you're going to see on the back of pedals like this Chase Bliss Mood. You're going to see this little dip switch that says trails. I know it's here on the Lossy. I'm pretty sure it's up there somewhere. Yeah, there's so many dip switches on these things, but it's there. It's a trails thing. Some pedals like this, awesome. I love this pedal. This is the Delay Llama from Jam Pedals. It has it right on the front with a nice little toggle switch. I guess I love toggle switches on pedals, so you can have it on and off. Some pedals sadly don't have it. We'll get into a little bit of that later, but I think it's way more important than we give it credit for. I want to go over some ideas for the fundamentals for the low end, for when we're, driving the bus from the back and steering the band, and we are in so much control over rhythm, of harmony, of texture, of sound, and time-based effects using trails are another way of adding interest to bass lines. Maybe doing that thing where the band turns around and goes, whoa, what's happening there? That's cool. Let me play off of that idea. And we're going to be talking primarily about delays, maybe a little reverb. We're going to go into some momentary things as well, which I think are really useful when it comes to bass. You'll hear people like my great buddy and incredible bass player, John Davis, use momentary all the time with his Nerve pedalboard setup. I think the same goes for Tim LaFave at times. So we're going to get into all of that. Now, one thing that is my loss and your gain this week, something I'm trying to be much better about as well. You see the room is kind of changed around here. I wonder if you can see everything. Well, I'm kind of sitting in front of a bunch of it. But as you may well know by now, the pedal situation is pretty ridiculous. There's probably 250 or 300 pedals in this room. Lots of them are incredible. Actually, most of them are incredible. Actually, that's why I have such a hard time getting rid of them. But I have a couple of things that I've been hearing lately that I kind of have a sneaky suspicion that 2 or 3 things that I don't own will accomplish. And to that end, I am, and it pains me to say this, I delayed recording this podcast for an hour because I was really like, can I really get rid of these things? It took a long time to get some of them. A couple of them are really rare. But yes, at the end of the day, I am getting rid of these pedals. Some of them are not so rare. There are 4 pieces. I recently switched to the Mood Mark II, which is stereo, because I'm running a big stereo setup now. So I have my Mood Mark I, the mono version, with the old school kind of noisy time knob, which I really like. I actually use the old version of the Mood, that option on the Mood Mark II quite a lot, because I like that noisy knob when you turn it anti-clockwise. Anyway, the Mood is going. That is pedal 1 of 4 today. 2 Chase Bliss pedals are leaving because 1 new one is coming in. These are all pedals. These are not freebies. This is not stuff I was sent to demo or to review or anything. These are all things I bought and have used extensively over the years. It has just come time in my sonic palette to move on, to change that up a little bit. So the first one on the chopping block, and it's in fantastic shape actually, even though this has been on the road, not going to lie. That of all of these is probably the one that's been used the most. My Mood Mark I. All of these pedals are linked below in the description of the video. This is the first time I'm going to tell you to pause the video and go and check that out. Not because I want to make the money or whatever, but I have the sneaky suspicion that these are going to go pretty quick. So I would suggest if you are serious about getting them, go do that now. The next one is the lossy. I made a whole video about it. It's the 90s answer to the Generation Loss Mark II, I think. It's the Skype call, the AOL online startup. It's that kind of glitchy, lo-fi loss in the sound. It's also stereo. It sounds great. I'll link the video that I made about that with sound samples below. I loved it. It's just I have something else in mind that I'm hearing a little more than this that is going to replace that. So my lossy, almost brand new. It's only about a month old and I bought it brand new. That lossy available below. And we'll make an example of, I guess, of trails on that stuff later. The ones that sadden me the most because they are so exquisitely made and rare as well. Like you just can't get these. Not only can't you get these, you can't get these in this color scheme that often either. I got one of the limited edition green and pink. Maybe that's your thing, maybe it's not. But if it is, my Pladask Electric Backlings is pedal number 3 on the chopping block. I've made lots of videos. It appears in lots of videos on my channel if you want better sound samples of it than we might get to today and a more focused look at exactly what it is. That's it. These all have their original boxes as well. If you're a watch person like me, box and papers, baby. They I try and take good care of them. This has aftermarket toppers on it. I can leave those on. I don't know. Maybe I'll let you decide if you get this. But this is the last one. Probably the one that pains me the most because it's the most in-depth, granular delay, kind of synthy delay thing I own. There's a whole I love this actually. Look at that. There's a whole instruction manual preset list on the front of the pedal because it goes so deep. And it has 8 presets, but then you shift to another thing, so it gives you 16 or is it 12 and 6 and 12? I don't remember. But my Pladask Electric Fabricat, that's on the chopping block. I'm not going super price gouging on these either. You see these Pladask stuff on Reverb that's going for bonkers money, $600, $700, $800 sometimes. I'm not going crazy with it. But yeah, these are super rare. They are leaving because I am going to replace them with something that's in stereo. I mean, these are actually good for most bass players that don't play stereo because these are all mono. These Fabricat, these Pladask Electric pedals are all mono. So I want to go with something that's stereo. That's why I'm replacing them. They're all linked below. Let's get to trails. What on earth am I talking about when it comes to trails? Well, here's an example of the OC7 sound. And there's a delay. I've just played one note and you hear the tail, the return, off it goes into the distance. Now I'm using the HX Stomp for this. It's a pretty standard. I'm using the transistor tape delay. I just dialed it up and I've set it to a quarter note. So here's our pulse and I've got the tap tempo going here on foot switch 3. Now what I might do is play that, and what I used to do actually with the green box, with the DL4, it's way out of reach. I'm not going to walk over there and get it, but you guys all know the line 6, the green box, the DL4, the delay, that had tap tempo on it. And when I used to use that with Jojo Mayer, with Nerve, I'd be playing, I'd have a quarter note that was somewhere in here. Actually, let me turn the delay off because I'd be playing. And I would tap out the rhythm I wanted. So if my quarter note was there, 2, 3, 4, I'd tap the rhythm out on the DL4 across the bar. So in fact, I'd probably go quicker than that, 2, 3, 4. I'd probably make it a little faster. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. And I'd set the trail so that I could play, maybe I'd have less repeats than that so I wouldn't sort of trip over myself, or maybe more repeats and play way less notes. Yeah, there's so many options with it. But the point being, where we get to the trails here, is that if I play, in fact, we're going to change keys so I can play open strings and use my hand on the stomp. If I turn it off, they disappear. When the trails aren't on, it just stops. There's no tailing off. There's no kind of musical resolution to the rhythm that it's making. So what you can do, really, really easy, in the stomp, you just scroll all the way over to the right and you switch that on. So you've got trails on now. So when I... So the transition, the trails kept going, and I switched to playing dry, and the trails kept going just that little bit. So it wasn't a clean cutoff when you hit the switch. Now, another thing I love to do, and something I mentioned earlier before we started, was to make it also a momentary switch. So when we go to in the stomp, again, very, very easy to do, because right now it's latching. So you switch it on and it stays on. When you go to momentary, it will only be on as long as you hold down the button. So you could literally just hold it down for one note to get the trails on one note. I love this. Everything with momentary can be really fun. You can punch out a really big reverb, have quite an aggressive reverb, and just hit one note, bah! At the beginning of the bar, and play the rest dry. And wouldn't you know it, I have a reverb on here because we're making examples of time-based effects. So same thing applies actually. I'm gonna show you. It's kind of even more. Let's do it with a chord. Got this nice little stereo dynamic hall reverb. You see how aggressive that is? It's just off. If I play the chord, it's so aggressive with the stop. Oh, I really dislike that very, very much. So again, same thing. I'll go into the effect, and normally the very last thing on the HX Stomp is the trail. So I scroll all the way over to the right. I grab the trails on, and we are in just a completely different universe in terms of what we're able to do now. So I have... So it just trailed off into the background really nicely, and the next notes I play after I've turned it off become dry, and I can go in a whole different direction. So transitionally, I think trails are fantastic, especially with reverbs like that. And of course, when you're playing bass, the example I made with the momentary switch, in fact, and just, you know, being able to be in control of where the notes go after you switch it off is fantastic. I think it's a really underrated element of what we do as bass players. I highly recommend that you get into putting your octave pedal through some kind of delay. That's really easy to do. In fact, I'm going to switch it back to latching now. Switch it back to that. So it's kind of difficult not to be doing it with the feet on the floor, but you get a better view of it up here on the desk. And I have a drum groove here, which will make a little more sense. Also, with something like the HX Stomp, actually with a few of the pedals I'm going to show you here, you have the option not to have to tap out the tempo across the bar line, because you can just switch from a quarter note, which is what it's set to right now, to a dotted eighth note. Where do we go here? Where's the eighth note and the dotted? Where is it? Is that it? No, I went too far. Man, I'm getting old, and the eyes are going. There's a dotted eighth note. So let's find our tempo of this drum groove, and I'll give you an idea of how that sounds in context. Let's see if we can get the drums to fire up here. They are coming from the cloud, so they're being a little bit slow today. This flight apparently is not on time. So I'm going to tap in my quarter note tempo, but I have it set to a dotted eighth note. So just when I wanted to go dry, maybe I'm switching sections of a song, maybe I'm going from a chorus back to a verse and I want to tighten things up, having that trail off into the top of the next section, super musical. And to me, it just opens up kind of this whole other world. And like I said, with the momentary, let's actually do that. Let's be really aggressive with the reverb. And we'll crank up. We'll take. I don't like pre-delay so much on that, but we'll turn up the decay like crazy. We'll turn up the mix a bunch. This is going to be really extreme, actually. Let's see where we're at. Oh, actually, that's cool. And let's put a little bit of bite on it as well. How are we going to do that? Let's go with the AM ring mod. Because that kind of gives us, where is it? There it is. That kind of gives us a little. See, it's already doing it. I hit one note and it's still trailing away in the background because that was pretty aggressive. So I'm going to go and set the switch to momentary. So it'll only hit when I touch it. I think the AM ring mod is not set up in the best way. Maybe that's a little better way of doing it. You can throw in like almost an accompaniment, almost a chordal accompaniment. If the reverb is big and it's pretty soaking wet, that is kind of giving you a pad to play dry underneath. So you crush that first note of the phrase and then play dry underneath. Man, that's a fun way to approach it. Let's try it with the drums again. See if we can get that in context. Of course, I'm playing around like a clown here with my hands up on the desk with the HX stomp. I would never do that. Of course, it's down by the feet. So much more musical. You can have both hands on the instrument. You're way less hindered this way. But conceptually, that's what I'm talking about. The combination of trails and the momentary options. Now, this is quite specific to the HX stomp. Not all pedals are going to have actually either of these features. And also I should say that, and this is old and dusty, this used to be my main go-to time-based effect. This is what I used to use. No reverb, it was always delay. It was always the TC Electronic Nova repeater. You can see this has got a 2 on it in Sharpie. I used to have, in fact, I still do actually. I think I have 4 or 5 of these, and they all had a number on them as to their age and how well they were working. But, and this is way dusty. I don't know where my tone brush is. But on here, you're going to see this, I think spillover is what TC Electronic called it. And I believe that was about the trails, about it going, continuing to trail on after you switch the effect off. These also had a hold button for audio tapping. Like you could tap with that was actually kind of cool. You could set the tempo of by having a dead note, holding that button down and tapping the tempo into the pedal. Yeah, awesome. But kind of big and bulky and definitely a little dated now, even though that's a great sounding delay. This is not one of the pedals I'm selling. I'll always be keeping these. I think these pedals sounded amazing. And they're stereo. Very, very cool. And like I said, that used to be, I see pictures of myself touring 15 years ago or something, and I would have this and a tuner on the floor. That was it. Pretty crazy. Not even a loop pedal back then, just the delay pedal. Now, I showed you the Delay Llama Extreme. Sorry, that's the Extreme version earlier on. And this has not only a trail switch, and obviously this is not like a big digital display like the HX Stomp. It's not really that much of a multi-functioning pedal. Although, having said that, it does have pitch shifting stuff and lots of alt functions under this little black switch here. Very, very cool pedal. But you can see over here, it has musical notes, different rhythms, and you can select, just like I did in the Stomp, you can select dotted, what do you got? Dotted eighth, a quarter note, or an eighth note. Not hundreds and hundreds of options. The HX Stomp goes into, I think, half notes all the way to 16th or something. But still, just, when you have a pedal like this, be aware that it could well have those functions that we're talking about here. And some of them won't. And I was going to definitely make an example of something I love. Again, this is kind of rare, very, very unique in design and sound. It's a delay. It's not stereo, unfortunately. How are we going to do this? I think we're going to... Woo! Yep. I should have maybe muted first. We're going to unplug the octaver, go straight in with the bass, and give you an example of something that doesn't have, like a single standalone pedal that doesn't have trails. It doesn't have tap tempo. Actually, it doesn't have a lot of features, but it does sound amazing, and that's why it kind of wins for me. Let's get rid of our friend. Oh man, pretty aggressive. So this is the vibrato choral by EQ Circuitos. I never know how to pronounce that. Based down in Costa Rica, right? I got to remember where I got it. And it's a delay, a modulation pedal that's that you can really get some amazing sounds out of. But as soon as you turn it off, you get all that yummy, gooey goodness. No trails. And here's the thing as well. Here's, of course, I want to give you a solution if you have a pedal that you really like the sound of. And actually, the Fabricat and the Backlings don't have trails, but the reason I kept them for so many years and they stayed, like literally, I had to pull this off my current pedal board, the Fabricat, because I've been using it like literally right up until this week. The reason I was able to use those is because I kind of faked the trails, shall we say. Especially when it comes to delays and granular delays, I kind of faked the trails by putting a reverb after it. It's not perfect because it doesn't... hang on a second, what am I doing here? Trying to do 8 things at the same time, trying to reset the reverb so it's not as extreme. How are we doing? Oh, and that's now... I set it up to make an example and then it's not where I need it. So how are we... Let's turn it on. It's still pretty big. We don't need so much mix. So basically, I put a reverb after a pedal that doesn't have trails on it, just so that some of what is going on in this pedal obviously not that kind of more aggressive. Sounds like an LFO in there, but that's not going to be sort of maintained, but elements of the sound will be if you can make the reverb pretty wet. So when I turn off the delay, it's not so abrupt. So my solution for pedals that I loved, and I love the EQ Circuitos, the vibrato choral. I have loved the Fabricat and the Backlings for so many years. That was really my solution for that. And I would use these because they're sort of granular. Of course, I should make an example of them. If you haven't heard them before and you're on the fence as to whether they might sound good on your board, let's plug them in. And I'll show you exactly how I use them. They got top jacks, which I love. So you can get all, look at that on the camera, you can get all of your stuff in the top and put these side by side, which is, if you've ever built a pedal board before, you know, real estate is so key. So they help out with that greatly. So let's just go. No messing around here, straight to business. Okay, where are we? So you can get all these. You can do it with pitch shifting or without. Ooh. And again, pushing that through. Pushing that through reverb, especially a stereo one. Like I said, this is a mono pedal. You know, for most bass players, that's great because you're running a mono setup. But when you push those granular elements through a big stereo reverb, oof. Now, you see that? Let's do it without the. It's immediate, right? It's a complete cutoff right away. But this, to me, is actually even easier than the vibrato choral to kind of mask the fact that it doesn't have trails, because it's kind of, like I said, it's granular. It is time based and it's a delay, but there are some kind of warbly elements that are less aggressive at times. You can set the pedal up kind of a multitude of different ways, but when you're on a less aggressive setting like this. That's just the backlings on its own. Now we push it out through the verb. There are still some of those elements from the backlings preserved in the stomp. So that's, a quick example of how I got around that with, really one of my... I guess the sadness is for real, guys. It's like, one of my favorite pedals. But I have to be better. I just cannot have a room full of insane bougie boutique pedals that are not getting used. And the Fabricat and the backlings, sadly, on the chopping block. And let's see here, what do we got? Have we got it? I always do this. I always put, because this has a control, like a expression pedal socket, and I always get them mixed up. Again, top jacks, you can see that on the overhead. Expression in there, and then in and out. Very nice. And that whole list of the presets on the front is super cool. I mean, they're a little small, and you should probably, if you're going to use it on a regular basis, learn the presets, learn which ones your favorite are. That gave a big boost in... I had it set way high on the gain there. So let's... It feels like you're sort of at times like drifting into outer space, especially when you add the reverb. Like you're passing too close to a black hole or something, and it has so much tail to it. Again, it's one without trails, but when you have the reverb after it, you barely notice that it's disappeared, because so many of the little granules are preserved in the tail of the verb. Let's go without the reverb, go through some of these sounds because they are kind of freaking awesome. This wasn't meant to be a trip down nostalgia lane with the Fabricat, but maybe this is one of the last times I use it, so why not? Like squeezing and molding is like grabbing a ball of Play-Doh and like squeezing it through your fingers. And it keeps, listen to that, it keeps developing. And you can kind of let it run away with itself. Man, there are so many great sounds on this. Shit. Every time I switch the knob, I'm like, am I really selling this? God. Wow. There's definitely aliens coming to visit, I think. It's kind of dramatic when you stop it and then let it bleed into the reverb. Yeah, okay, this could definitely go into a whole Fabricat video, which it is not. And it's really about remembering and being aware of some of these simple options we have available to us with just an octave pedal and some sort of delay. I have to, yeah, that would be a deadly combination right there. The delay. Actually, one last thing for you guys before we get out of here. I'll do that. I'll bypass. Can I do that? Yeah, I guess I'll go through the stomp, but I'll use the delay llama. Have I just bitten off more than I can chew? No. Okay. Yep. I have enough cables here. Fantastic. And I'll give you an idea of a non-stomp version of this idea right here. Are we plugged in? Yes, we are. Beautiful. And I still have the reverb on the stomp, I guess. So where are we? Let's. Okay, so the trails are on. Let's try and get this in the shot so you see what's going on. And let's go with our groove again. What was our tempo? And we'll try and set up. Exactly what we did. Exactly what we did with. Okay, so that's interesting right away. You see how, and of course I could have gone in the stomp and made, taken way more time to adjust that delay. But this one sort of, the delay llama feels like very musical right away. Did you feel how it had a little bit more oomph? It was sort of set up to go. I like that. I like things that you kind of don't have to do too much to them. I really haven't touched any of the knobs yet. Let's go again. So there are all kinds of pitch shifting things on here that I totally forgot about. I don't remember the exact placement of them. I made a video about the delay llama. It's on the channel. But that's just another quick example of doing this with, without the stomp, without something with a big digital, easily programmable interface. It's, as you can see, totally possible, totally quick. And tap tempo is kind of great and awesome. You know, it's a bummer that a pedal like this doesn't have it, but I totally understand. This is for more sort of hands-on sound design than it is being a bass player in a band and having to tap out tempos. You will also find, you know, pedals like this, like the Eventide H9, probably, I'm guessing the H90 as well. Things that have an app, it'll be an option in the app to turn on trails or not. I have the UA effects, Universal Audio Effects, Delverb on my board right now, and that is also something that you have to engage in the app. So be aware of that. Be aware of the fact that you might have to dig deep into a menu to find the trails and just make sure they're on. So that's it. To recap, the sadness for me, the joy for you, it's these four guys. These four guys are out. The Lossy, the Mood, the Fabricat, and the Backlings. They're all available on the website below. I'm going to start trying to be happy about it and I will be super happy about it once they go. It's always awesome. I've sold a few pedals recently. I actually met someone who bought one of the pedals. They came to the Baked Potato. So it's great to see those things going places and to hear from people like, hey man, this pedal's really working out. I'm using it a ton. I love that. And the happiness will soar once I get these other things. The reason that these are leaving me is, like I said before, is because some other things are coming in, and that's really important. And I must continue to be better about that and change things around as and when my taste and my ear tells me. So trails, people, don't sleep on trails. I think they're really important. I think you can have a lot of fun with them. I appreciate you spending some of your insanely precious time with me nerding out with this super mess of a desk of pedals. And that's it. I'll see you guys on the next one.